he's actually not only a great marketer and a great entrepreneur. We actually met through, I think, Nadra as well. He was promoting something that Nadra had going on. I pinged him on his Instagram. Next thing you know, we started talking, and the relationships have just kind of spired up from there. But Alex actually has adopted the same kind of mentality that I promote to all you guys. It's like you got to work on the businessman or woman before the business plan. And so, actually, Alex, whether or not he was just trying to, figure out what I was all about or not, he actually bought into our personal development program. So outside of Legacy, we do Legacy Decks Academy, which is like the business operating system. We run a thing called LDX, the Legacy Day Experience. I think I'm wearing a shirt for that today, which is like the personal operating system. And so Alex actually barely even knew me when he signed up for it. I don't know that he even knew what he signed up for, but he was like, "Oh, want to be a part of it." And so he's actually gone through that program, which is fantastic because you guys all speak a different language now from being in this room, right? We've talked some models, we've learned some things. Imagine taking that and doing it on the personal side too. Like you operate at a different level. Majority of my team has actually been a part of that program as well. That's not what this is about, though. You guys are here to learn about marketing, so let's stick to that. So Alice is going to come up and share with you guys a model that's built out that is something that you don't have to hire Alex to do this. This is like you can go back and immediately implement. Like I wanted something tactical and practical to send you guys back to analyze like where you are currently and what can you actually do out of here. So there's going to be some very specific things that you guys can take some notes on, and Alex is going to share with that. So let's bring up Alex Stanner from Benson Deck Marketing. He actually shared a book with all you guys yesterday as well, so you guys all should have got his book. So
Yep. All right.
thanks, Alex.
Yeah. Yeah. And like Chris said, I mean, all the stuff I'm gonna be talking about here, like I wanted to think about what was I guess the biggest needle movers if you're trying to grow the business, like what you can actually do to make those big jumps and really, move your business forward. So, just curious though, who here likes marketing? Or okay, that's more. Anybody hate marketing? Okay, all right. Yeah, so I mean, kind of like that. I kind of want to keep it, I guess, loose and ask you guys some questions and see what you think about where you currently are. I can see we have some clients here, and they're obviously the studious ones because they're in the front row. Everybody, so you guys are doing a great job. Um, Anybody not doing marketing? Not okay. So everyone here at least has a website, has a Google listing. Okay. All right. So what we're going to be covering, um, going through a lot of stuff, the common problems that we see with deck builders. We hear a lot of different issues that people have. So I'm sure there's going to be some things that you've seen before. Why it matters, I'll show you some stats. The big five for ranking on Google. And then, like Chris said, I wanted to give some like tactical things you can do to kind of move the ball forward and, really take advantage of it. I don't know if we're gonna have time for an audit or not. We'll see, but might do a live audit if anybody's feeling brave. Okay. Then we'll just do Q&A or something like that. We'll see what we get to. Okay, so anybody that we haven't met, I think there's only a few at this point. We'll have to meet tonight or dinner or whatever. But Alex Danner, owner founder of Fence and Deck Marketers. And when I started Fence and Deck Marketers, I wanted it to be like I guess a value first type deal. So we do a lot of different free content. Whether it's social media, we do webinars, we do different partnerships as well. With Scott, he's done. We have one with Jason here coming up in October. But I don't ever hold anything back. Everything I say today, I want to be the best stuff. I don't want to hide anything. If anybody contacts me, I'm not saying like, I'm only going to tell you so much and then hide the rest and hire me. Everything that I give you here is exactly what I would do if it was my business. And you guys all have a copy of the book. So wrote that about, I don't know, 8 months ago. Yeah. So, and then we have a podcast, Spence and Deck Mastery Podcast, some guests on there, a couple in this room that we do a lot of stuff. If you're into that kind of thing, bring on guests, different manufacturers, stuff like that. And then a proud participant in Nadra, and love being part of that. Okay, so we talk to a lot of different deck builders each day. I mean, on average, at least one, I would say. And we hear a lot of common problems. So we got, my business doesn't show up online. I can't get enough reviews. Relying too heavily on referrals. Marketing's not producing enough leads. I'm not getting the right leads. A lot of tire kickers, we hear that all the time, or you're just not sure which direction. So does that sound familiar to anybody? Have you heard that? Any other ones that you guys have heard? Common things, any common problems out of that list?
Getting the right lead.
Yeah. Is it just people that are tire kickers or quality? Just, yeah. Okay. You have problems with the type of, like the type of service too, or?
Yeah, well, hey, I want to increase this, but
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I can't track my ROI. I
Yeah.
don't know where I'm getting from my money.
Yep. I know Amy was talking about that. I don't know where Amy is, but it is tough to track your leads because no matter how they find you, they will go to Google. So you can track it, and there's ways to do that. I'm not going to be going into that a whole lot, but there are ways to do it. If you're doing marketing, tracking numbers, things like that are a great way to get an idea of it. But like Amy was saying yesterday, you do want to ask because you want to see where they came from, but it might not be the truth. But measuring your revenue before and after is kind of the best way to do it. But there are ways to track, what came from SEO or Google Ads and things like that. All right, so just a couple stats. 78% of construction companies say digital marketing increased project inquiries, and then 87% of homeowners went to Google or go to Google when they're looking for a service provider. So that's important, especially now because AI is going crazy and everybody knows about it. But the stats still show most people are going to Google when they're trying to find somebody, a deck builder basically, or any kind of service provider. So that's still the majority. And most people are going to the organic listings. Another thing I think it was Amy was saying yesterday, most people are skipping the ads and they're going to the organic listings. So I'll show you exactly like where you want to show up and how you should structure your marketing, where people go, things like that. Okay, so if you've spoken to me, you've probably seen this picture here. But when people are going to Google, so if they're saying, all right, I want a deck builder, I want to go see what the different options are. So we're not going to be talking about Google Ads today a whole lot, but that's going to be 30% of the people right there at the top. Um, Somebody was mentioning local services ads yesterday. They're not a good idea for deck builders. They're not set up properly for deck builders. It's very low volume. I've seen like maybe one or two companies that have actually been successful with them. So just a little tidbit there. I would recommend skipping those. Google ads, they work much better, the pay-per-click ads. But the important thing is basically that middle section there. So the map pack, that orange section right there, that's getting almost half of all the leads. So when they're going to Google, we already know 87% of people go there. And then once they're there, almost half of all the leads go to the map pack. And then underneath that is 25%. That's the website results. So you have basically 70% of people are skipping over the ads and going right to the organic section. So ranking organically, to get there, you have to do SEO. Anybody not heard of SEO before? Know what I'm talking about? Everybody good? Okay. All right, good. Okay, so as I was saying in the beginning, I wanted to think of like there's so many little things. I'm sure everybody here has heard just constant things that move the needle forward. And I sat down and I was thinking, what moves it the most? What like really gets you to the next level or the fastest, basically? Because there's you know countless things that you can do with marketing to move it up a little bit higher in the rankings. I mean, it's just an endless list. But I came up with the big five, the five things that I see move the needle the most. Um, and basically, I'm just going to go through each one. But the first one, business name. So I forget who I was. I think it was outdoor. What? Sorry, what's your name? First name again?
Joe.
Joe. I think we were talking about that earlier or last night. The name of the business is a huge piece of it because if you're sitting there and you have, say you're ABC Construction or ABC Contracting, you're going to rank lower than somebody that's, ABC Decks and Outdoor Living or, you know, ABC Decks and Construction or ABC Decks and whatever, Home Solutions. So if you can rename, I mean, everybody's in here, I think is a deck builder. Does anybody do anything other than decks, like roofing or anything like that? Okay. So everybody, okay. Yeah. All right. Good. So if your name does not have Dex in it, I mean, we do this a lot. Joe, I'm going to keep picking on him all day because, he does such a good job with a lot of things. But that was one thing we did when we first started working together was, Rosebud Construction or Rosebud Decks and Patios, or is it porches? Porches, yeah. So if you rename it like that, it's just one more advantage that you have because if you go to Google and you look at it, you type in, deck builder near me, you're going to see if you have that keyword in the name, it's going to rank you higher than if you don't. We're going to go through the rest. So we have the big five are basically business name, the location, the Google reviews, the optimized Google listing, and the websites. We're going to go through each one of those. All right. Has anybody gone to Google and look to see how you actually stack up or compare to competition? Does anybody regularly do that to see you do? Good. Amy, I figured you did. You do too? Good. Okay. Anybody not really just kind of keep it in the back, rear view or yeah, okay. So what I would encourage you to do is kind of have a honest assessment of your business because that's what everybody's going to be doing. Most people don't know the deck builders in your area unless they get a referral. And even if they do get a referral, they're still going to be looking because they're spending 20, 50, 100, 200, whatever, 1,000 on a deck. It's not a little thing. It's not a little purchase. So they're going to look and size you up based off of your name, your website, your Google listing, all these different things. So what I would really keep an eye out on is, what is your competition and how do they compare to your business? So if you're going to Google, basically, I want to give you an example because I want to, this is over in Maryland here, but I just wanted to see, was just doing a random search. I want to see or kind of paint the picture of what it can be like to really dominate an area and the things to look at if you want to go and do really well in your area. So this is kind of the customer journey. They're going to type in deck builder near me. They're going to go and they're like, hey, I need a deck builder, somebody to build this. Let me go find it. This is the best type of lead. This is going to be people that are ready to go, ready to move. Everyone here, I'm sure, can agree, the Google leads are typically the best. We're not going to be talking about the ad section there on the left too much, except towards the end. But as soon as you get to Google, you're going to have, your map pack rankings there. You can see there's an ad at the top, which I'll talk about in a sec. But typically it's those or those bottom three that show up like that. So you have, you have Deck Soldier, Sunscape Deck Builders, Frontier Deck Builders, and then you have all these website results. So what do you think when somebody's looking for a deck builder? They're spending 40, 50, 100, 200,000. If you look at this, what would you guys be looking at first?
Number of reviews.
Yep. Anything else?
Ranking of the reviews.
Ranking?
So
Yep.
number of them and what they rank.
Yeah.
Or number of times they're showed up.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, if we got a Maryland guy in here. So
Well, the guy, Deck Soldier, he worked under me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He was one of your employees at one point or?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
Trained him
Oh, sore subject then?
a little bit.
It's got 9 reviews.
All right, well, maybe just close your ears for a little bit. But yeah, so yeah, look at the reviews. That's a huge piece. I mean, Google's not dumb. They have yellow review, the reviews are in yellow. They draw your eye. There's literally psychology behind that, the colors of things. They'll, point your eyes to a certain direction. So that's what they want. They want reviews, and for better or worse, it's huge. That's what everyone's looking at. I mean, when you think about Amazon, has anybody bought anything from Amazon without looking at reviews, or has anybody just bought something and was like, oh, well, we'll hope for the best? Hope not. Everybody's looking at that. So they're going to be looking at the reviews. A lot of the times you're not going to see an ad at the top, but that in this case, I just wanted to point something out. Most of the time it's going to be those bottom three, but you can see Deck Soldier, sorry, Jonathan, they are, 309 reviews versus 1132. So even though they're in the bottom position, and they're actually not even in the city that I typed in. So Sykesville, it's, a pretty decent area, but they're in Eldersburg, it's close, but you can see that they're popping up further and further away from their location. So when you see that,
Does that have anything to do with the fact that they're also paying to be at the top?
you mean an ad?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I've heard some people be like kind of skeptics about it. I've never seen like a direct correlation, but wouldn't be surprised if there's something in there hidden that, it is, if you get if you get more views on your website, that can help with SEO, the more traffic you get. Um, but either way, that's just a Google ad. So you can pay to go to the top of there, and then you can rank in more areas. It's not just organic, organic listings. Um, but yeah, that's what you kind of want to look at, because that's what customers are looking at. They're looking at what's in the name. If somebody's paying that much for a deck, they're going to want that specialized deck builder, not the generic person that also does roofs or HVAC or, something like that. So they're going to look at, see exactly, who's specializing in what they do. And then you got the website results over there. That's about 25%. And you can add things in your description, the title, things like that to rank up higher there. But what's cool about Deck Soldier, sorry, Jonathan, but they are they are doing a really good job, because they're just the clear dominating force in that area. I mean, it's just no question. If you have 309 reviews, the people that want to spend the big money are going to be looking at them, because they're the ones that want to pay for quality, not those tire kickers. If you're sitting there with 4.5 or 4 or 3, something like that, those, you're going to attract those leads that are just like, oh, maybe I'll get a good price, or maybe I'll put the foundation in and I'll pay these guys to just, put some boards on or something. That's when you attract those. So that's what they're doing a good job with, but they're also just basically buying real estate on Google. So, I mean, really a really good job. You can see they show up once in the ads on the left there. They could do a better job about showing their name, but um, Deck Soldier at the top in the map pack, so they're there twice, and then they're also in the website results. So if you're in all of those areas, go Joe.
Um, Now, with this example, he's paying for the ad. So would that be a case of like throwing money away, or
No.
and because he's still ranking on the organic,
Yeah, I mean, it's
he's getting the 30% people that are
it's it's better to be noticed that many times. Like if you're just that, I mean, it's just, yeah, I mean, if you're showing up that much, like I said, it's like buying real estate on Google. And either way, if they click on the ad or they click in, whatever, you still get the lead. You want to show up as many times as possible. And for especially a keyword like deck builder, it's so highly converting that you're not going to complain if you get one of those leads, basically. So yeah. So
Does also help that somebody else doesn't have that ad right there. It's a nice.
that's also a very good point. Yep. Yeah. So he's there, nobody else is. And yeah, I mean, is there anyone here, if you're looking to spend top dollar on a new deck, you wouldn't be looking at them first? I mean, that's who I would be picking. You might look at somebody else like Frontier or something if you wanted to get a cheaper price or something, but we'll talk about, how that weeds people out too. Go, Jesse.
It's part of it because the other companies have deck builders in their name instead of like there's some like so many decks.
It's another good point. So, yeah, basically, well, let me talk about that in a sec. We'll get to the, I mean, I'll address it real quick. That is exactly it. So if you have, I know we've talked about this deck builder. I mean, having decks or anything specific to anything deck related is going to help if somebody types in or includes that keyword deck in the name or in the search. Deck builders is another great way. I mean, that's even going beyond that. So if you're just, ABC decks versus ABC deck builders, and somebody types in deck builder, which we know they are, yeah, it's better. It's better to do that too. It doesn't always fit though. Sometimes it's hard to rename, use deck builders. So
Does it hurt your SEO? Like if you change your name on Google, is it like
if you change your DBA name, or you mean you added DBA? Yeah, so if you have a history with one name, you will have to update things, because there's things called citations where you have to add your information to different directory websites, basically, and there's thousands of them. So you have a long history of using a certain name, it can affect it, but it's also going to help you quite a bit too. So it just kind of depends on what you change. If you're going from ABC Construction to ABC Deck Builders and the search is Deck Builders, you're probably going to rank better regardless, even if it's a little bit off with those citations. So I guess to answer your question, and it's worth it. In the end, it's going to be worth it. Sorry, Amiga.
Just an example of us changing our name. We went for Deckmasters to Legacy, and Deckmasters SEO great. Like we had a lot of history with Google and stuff that had been around for 6-7 years. And we changed to Legacy, and new website, new web address, new name, all of that. But made sure to go back and connect all those citations, update everything, all of that. And it took about 3 months, and we were right back to our ranking on Google. To Micah Keepus came into your Deckmaster, as well as our what's the score you get for your website?
Your
Your trust score. Or whatever. Was that? No, your trust score.
your qualities. I'm not sure.
No, it's a trust score or whatever.
You mean like from an SEO tool?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was already back up to exactly what we were before. So it took about 3 months
Gotcha.
with the name change.
gotcha. Yeah, yeah, and that one's tricky too because there's deck in both of them, so it has to go down in that case. So you don't have that ability to like offset it a little bit if you went from not having decks or the keyword in there. So,
Is there
yeah.
the potential for negative connotation like on Frontier Deck Builder where it says they've been business for 25 years but only have 11 reviews?
Yeah, I mean, I I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know how much. I think people do pay attention to that, but the reviews outweigh it. I think the reviews are the more important factor because if somebody clicks into it and sees overwhelming number of people just saying how great a company is, that's going to offset that little gray area where you probably skip over it too. You're not looking at it. And also you can lie about that just so you know. You could say how long you've been in business. But yeah, it's kind of a tricky one. I think it'll take the next step, reviewing the reviews, looking at the website and kind of seeing the history of it. I think we'll have more power than just that.
Yeah. What about having the word deck in your URL? Does that make a difference?
So it used to be way more powerful. I think it definitely helps if you have it does help. It's just not as powerful as it used to be. That used to be the thing. It used to be, greenvilledeckbuilder.com would be like end all be all. But now Google's realized that marketers ruin everything and they like game the system in every way possible. So they started downgrading that and going more after brands. So now there's like a big push for brands. They want to see like a brand name, not just somebody that cheated and um, guys like that Rob knows of, the guys that just rent a website to you, like the rank and rent agencies. It'll they want to see that brand, who's behind it, having an about us, page that shows who's behind the company and things. That's what Google wants now.
Not to change the subject, but you said you have to update like all the citations if you're going to sing something. You have to actually update like all of them, or do you just change the main ones?
Like Facebook, Yelp, something you should control.
Those are definitely more important. Yeah, I mean they're definitely more important. So there are tools that do it automatically for you. So like Yext, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that. That's what we use. Yeah, Yext, YEXT. But it's like a citation creator, but you can also edit it. So if you want to make a change about something, like your name or whatever address, you can do it one time there, and then it'll just populate all these other websites. All right, so I want to talk about location. So this is, and I was talking to a couple guys throughout this, yesterday and I guess the day before. This is my favorite thing to talk about and something I really nerd out about, and a lot of people have seen that are sitting in here. But the location of where you're at is so important. It's so powerful, and it's going to really dictate how many leads you get, how much money you make if you do it correctly. So who has a commercial building? Commercial. So is everyone else residential out of their house? Okay. Push your, I want to see the hands here. Residential. Okay. All right. So the majority there. Is everyone showing their address that's residential? Okay. Anybody not showing their address? Okay, cool. This would be a good one then for you. Google wants to see a physical location and they want to see a commercial location ideally. So residential, it used to be very easy to get verified. You put a postcard in the mail, send it to the address, type in a code, and you're done. Those days are gone. Like I said, marketers ruin everything. So everybody found out a way to game the system. Now they make you do a video verification or have a call with Google to get verified. So nowadays, if you can get a commercial location, it's way better. It's just easier, follows the rules. If you're having a house, it makes it a lot harder. But can do it. It's just tricky. We're, we've, I could see Anthony and Kelly over there. We've been playing hell with doing it, but yeah, get real lucky with one, and then it's very tough the next time, and it's not always the same thing every time. But I'll show you kind of how you can put your location to get access to all the. Somebody's at your Ring camera, pops. So yeah.
I don't know what.
So is anybody? I know everyone that's talked to me has seen this, but anybody not seen this here? Never seen one of these? Okay. This here, it's a report from Local Falcon. It's basically a report that shows you where you rank in the map pack, so those top 3 Google listings, as if you're standing and typing in deck builder in each one of these circles. So if you're standing right there, 2, you want to be in the top 3. There's only 3 results, but that will show you kind of how you can rank in an area. So why this is so cool is because basically you can use a report like this. If you remember, the map pack gets almost half of all the leads. So if you're in the map pack, you're going to get a good chance at a lead. You're at least going to get a chance at the sale. If you're in the middle of nowhere and you're doing this, so say, you're out here, the green, by the way, on Google is usually means like a low population. So if you're out in the middle of nowhere, that means you're getting access to half of all the leads in an area where there aren't really any people. But if you're strategic about it and you're like, hey, I know that this specific city has tons of opportunity. This is where there's big money. This is where the people that can afford my 50,000 average job. If you're, smart about it, you can set up your shop in a specific area. So it can make or break kind of where you're going, because if you're within that radius, and by the way, it's usually around 10 miles from your office is where you're going to rank. It's not a guarantee. It's kind of depends on competition and things. But if you're within that 10-mile radius, you're basically just getting access to half of the leads in a specific area. So we've done a lot of different moves with clients saying, we got to go inside a specific area, because we know, if they're sitting out in the outskirts of a city and they move like to the heart of the area that they want to go after, that's how they just got access to half of the leads within that, geographical area. So when I look at this was actually that second one, or Sunset Deck Builders. They're in Sykesville, which is a good area, but that's Carroll County. It's not the premier county of Maryland. There's better and more expensive areas, as Jonathan will agree. The big areas, Howard County, that's a huge area in Maryland, with a lot of big houses and good schools and all that. That's just south of Sykesville. So that horizontal highway line that's down, I don't know if that's a defining factor or not, but south of there is a lot of Howard County. So it was kind of interesting. It was kind of a cool situation recently. A friend of mine from high school, he reached out to me, and he was doing all kinds of random jobs, and he was like, hey, I'm thinking about getting into decks. And I told him all about, this whole network here, Nadra. I told him about Legacy. I was like, yes, do it, because it's a great industry. It's growing. I mean, there's just a lot of cool stuff going on. He was talking about where he wants to go, and he's got an office in Glenelg. So if you see it, it's actually trying to go between screens and not just do one, but it's down there, right at the bottom there. But Glenelg is in, is in Howard County. That's where a lot of the big money is. So I told him I was getting more excited than he was. I was pumped up because I was like, dude, you're in a perfect spot. You're sitting right in that area, and you're right next to the most wealthy areas in the whole county. Glenelg, I mean, the top high schools, I mean, just, really, really good areas. Median household income of 200 plus. Whereas if you go to Sykesville, it's like 100. If you go more north, where I live, it's, it's even less than that. So he's going to position himself in that area and be able to draw that 10-mile radius and touch all those cities. So he's going to go right around there, dead center, and it's boom, 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 boom. He's in the, he's in this peak area. So because he does that, and I told him he's got to get reviews, which we'll talk about. He's got to get a website, all that stuff. But that just being in that location is huge. And we've seen it time and time again. We move all the time, try to get clients to move and go into a different area. Because if you do that, you're not really playing, you're playing chess, not checkers. You're putting yourself in a position of success right from the start, instead of just guessing or taking things as they are. If you're just kind of sitting somewhere and you're like, well, hope for the best, you're not talking about a little bit amount of money. You're talking hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars just because you're outside of a successful area, because you're missing out on half of the leads of those quality areas. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? Okay.
Is there like obviously yeah? Is you're saying that the actual physical location is I guess more important than when you say, hey, my service area is here.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, you do want to say your service areas, but like the number one ranking factor is proximity. So how close you are. The name and some of these other things are important.
Do you think Google would kind of figure out that you're not going to buy a cup of coffee, where the distance is like the deciding factor on like who's the best choice for me? Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I know. I agree.
It's kind of stupid, but anyway, it is what it is.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, the good news is they've made it so much more strict. So if you can do it and follow their rules, maybe a little bit of, extra marketing cheating, but no, it's good.
Overcome that, like if you have a primary address, but then your service area, like I mean, if you open up like a satellite.
Oh, yeah.
office, that's-
Picking one of my favorite topics, Jason. We'll talk about all that. So, yeah, I mean, basically that's what you said, and you can get satellite offices. So that's another thing we always preach. I mean, we talked with Joe here about new offices. I mean, and everyone here we probably talked about that spoke with me. You can get a satellite office. There is certain criteria that you have to have. So it's got to be a lockable area. Like you have to have a suite, your own suite number, and you have to be able to walk in, unlock a door. It can't be like, 20 people in this room and each one has a table. It's got to be like an actual office you can unlock. You got to have an office sign. So there's a whole SOP. I think Chris shared it. I could share it again, but I shared the whole SOP for like how to verify. You have to follow all the rules because if not, you'll get suspended. I mean, and even sometimes when you think you have it, you don't. But to answer your question, you can, and that is a good idea. That's a way you can do it because on average, they're probably like $500 a month, and you just bought $500 a month to go into the prime area and set up shop.
Yeah. I'm gonna start a business just to have like these tiny satellite offices in that area.
So this bingo board.
Yeah.
So where does this intel come from? And can it be duplicated in multiple markets?
Yeah. What do you mean? Where does it come from?
So how did you figure out? Was it from?
I mean, so basically, we just kind of realized that people that are in the best market, and we have, a lot of resources and masterminds and stuff that we're all part of. So we get a lot of information that way. But I did take it and kind of developed to this step, I guess. There, I know a couple agencies that do it, most don't, but basically just figure out. And also you kind of put the dots together. If like we had a client that was in the middle of nowhere and then they moved to a populated area and they immediately grew like crazy and the calls started coming in from that area, whereas before it was clear they weren't getting any from there.
So a lot of guys asked me about these platforms.
Oh, really?
So is this something that you could duplicate and sell to people?
You can do it all day long. So, and nobody, that's why I get excited because nobody's really doing it that well at all. I've talked to like one company that came to me that accidentally did it. It was, maybe you guys know Woodland Deck Company. Anybody ever heard of them? Okay. Anyways, I had a call with them and the guy, the GM told me his plan and I was taken back. I was like, oh, so you already figured out the right way to do things. And that's exactly what he did. I mean, he's like a $10 million company. He was like, that's what I did. I just opened up random office spaces. And he was like, as soon as I did that, I got reviews. You got to be religious about reviews. You can't just open up shop and think it's going to work. You got to have the systems in place. But he did, he gets to 50 per location at least. And it just explodes. I mean, and if you think about it, I mean, why wouldn't it, because if you're in an area that, money's being, there's a lot of money there and there's opportunity. And also Pops, we were talking about this on the way. One final piece, if there's a lot of decks that need to be built in that area. So the money's there, the opportunity's there, all those things, then you can have a lot of confidence, like I said, for $500 a month too, for an office. Not always $500.
I was gonna say, where you getting an office for $500?
So it's a co-working space. So you don't have to get like, you're not getting this for $500, but you can get a co-working space as long as you have your own office.
How often do they recheck it?
Never. I mean, if you get suspended, they will. So actually, that's a good point. They won't check on it, but you can do things that will trigger a suspension, and then you gotta make sure you can go back in and do it.
Can people report people satellite off?
No, they're not going to report you. You're not going to be able to get suspended. Not that I've seen anyway. I've never seen anybody like, try to do it that way. But
We just moved and I had to get re-verified.
mhm,
And,
yeah.
like I had to do the video 4 times. I was walking down the street. What? Just to submit it. Oh my! They kept rejecting it, and he was like, "Oh, and guys, like, no, this is like, I got son.
So either you create a new satellite office somewhere or an actual physical location with brick and mortar, and you created, is that a different listing altogether?
Mhm.
The reviews also transfer over.
Yeah. Oh no, sorry, no, they don't. Sorry. Yeah, big thing there. No, they don't.
Different listings.
Yeah, you can move. So if you're in a bad area, I'd recommend moving. Because it's going to take time, but like you want to take over an area and get the best results as possible, and then move on. So, but you gotta,
Moving their reviews to follow your others.
yeah, if you move the location, yeah, the reviews file, yeah, exactly.
One of our academy members in this area, and just to kind of think outside the box, he didn't go rent a whole bunch of places. He had family members and friends who had businesses in other places. This was in cheat code. So like his sister was a realtor in a spot in a city he wanted to be. So he's like, hey, I'm gonna use your address. Can I make your office look like mine to do my walkthrough? Cheated the system a little, but he's gonna have to get office spaces and used friends and family to do it. So he set it up. I mean, I probably wouldn't totally recommend it, but it worked for him. He was able to, set it up, put his signs in there, and make it look like so that way he walked through is his space, and
Yeah.
he didn't have to rent a place.
And the only thing there, you want to have a suite number, because if you match an address with that person, then you just moved in and kind of messed them up. You're supposed to have your own unique number, so you can do that. You got to yeah, there's ways to game it, like for sure. If you're in here, just put, I don't want to give too many, like, I know, like, it can't, it's not like a, yeah,
I get stuck on the we have to show like documentation.
yeah. We,
I forget what.
yeah. So yeah, and that's a good point. Anthony and I, we maybe got a little lucky. I don't know, but we got his. He's at it was at his personal address, and we staged it up and we put his truck outside. And well, like you said, you can get you got to get a little tricky with Google, but I was like, dude, look at like a lounge, So you walk in and he's got the couch set up all nice. He's got his like one of those that thing whatever those are called behind his thing, and he's got his desk. He's got like deck boards on there, and he was like, "Well, this is where we talk to clients." And then he walk upstairs, and he was like, "Oh, this is my office," but it was just his house, and we got away with it. But with Kelly right now, we're we're doing the same thing, and it's been harder. So
Got away with the 3 revisions later, and every
Yeah.
revision took 8 submissions.
Yeah.
because it wouldn't submit. So it ended it.
yeah, and now we send your video as an example.
You said, yeah, I know. So I read ability of this, and it was the part of where I didn't sell a job for like 3 months. So I was happy in that video.
So all right, I know I'm behind, aren't I? Shoot.
Do you believe that over time, like say your address is in one area, but your phone is constantly say you're in another area, that you're continuously doing work there, then eventually it will start tagging you in that area for jobs around there, either without moving?
You mean if you like put on your website that you did jobs there, or
It's within your service area that you're listing, but it's showing you more here than you're even at your actual business address area.
so there are software you can do, like Bird Eye, where it'll put a map and like the jobs that you guys do, you can like put it on the map. It'll pinpoint saying you did a job here. That can help, but it's not going to replace this. Yeah, it won't be anywhere close to, I guess the level you can get to if you're within that area. So, and yeah, so to make things even more confusing and crazier bingo board, so this is a step forward. So when I was talking about chess versus checkers, this is the next level of it, because these reports will show you the businesses in the area. Granted, this is not all deck builders. There's people in here that are like roofers, but they have a chance of ranking as a deck builder, even though they won't. But this is a way to not only know about a good area, but you can then find a soft spot with no competition. So like I said, don't get distracted by the level of blue dots here. Some of them are deck builders. Probably 10% are people that might actually contend with you. But what was cool in that Glenelg example here, I was telling you, in that city, that's why I got excited too, because you can see there's kind of I wish I could go to both so I can do this. but you can see there's kind of a hole here. So he goes right there. There's not really any competition to touch all of that county and all of the rest of Howard County there. So you set up shop and you know there's not a whole lot of competition because you don't want to sit next to Deck Soldier. Sorry, Jonathan, but they're gonna just, you're never gonna catch them more than likely unless you cheat. So they have 300 reviews and you're starting from zero. You don't want to be next to them if you want to be that premier company over there. So, Rico going here.
Can I ask a question about that software, Falcon? Because Falcon allow you to visually see where searches, so that you type in a keyword, and does it show you how many searches geographically?
Not there, not that software, but yeah, with Google Ads, it's free. You can literally, you got to be doing Google Ads to get it, but there's tons of software. You can go after location. So that's another piece. You find out, and ChatGPT will tell you a lot of this. You know what they're making, you know what the searches are, you know what the best areas are, all these things to pinpoint that one area, like what is really keeping you from knowing it all. You have all these variables and plant yourself in that exact area. So I think, Greg, we were talking about that. Like you never really know, or it's like kind of up in the air. It's really not, because if you have all those variables, you know what they're making, what the opportunity, if you have POPs reports saying how many decks need to be replaced, you can get all these things together and then find a soft spot on the map where there's no competition. You just open yourself up to all kinds of opportunity. Does that make sense? These reports are kind of crazy looking. Okay. All right. So another one of the big five is your Google listing. So the right category. Does anybody know if they set their primary category on their Google business profile to anything but deck builder? Does anybody have it as general contractor, I think construction companies? Everyone's positive they have it as deck builder. Okay. If you're unsure, check it out, because that's a big difference maker there. But you want to make sure you do that. Primary categories. There's other secondary categories like carport and pergola builders. I think everyone here probably does pergolas, or most of you. So you want to have those secondary categories. I always say 30 reviews. That's where people feel warm and fuzzy about you. But really, at the end of the day, it's all about competition. If you're going up against Rosebud with 200, who's killing it with reviews, you're going to want to step your game up to, kind of be in the same, realm as them. Yeah, so competitors, respond to every review. You have to, have a nice response, sound good. If it's a bad review, definitely respond in a nice way. Don't argue back and forth with them. Add all your services, all the services as products. That's often overlooked. There's a products thing. You wouldn't think it makes sense to add, deck builder or composite decks. All your keywords, add them also as products. And images, I think probably a lot of people in here are pretty good about images, posting those. Another little cheat hack, whatever you want to call it, hours of operation. If you're from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. or 4 p.m., whatever, you can open it up later to 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. Hopefully you can pick up those calls. But if you don't, and your competitors are open at 9 and you close at 5, they're going to rank higher in those off hours. So that's usually a way to just get some later leads, late night leads. It is tricky with showrooms. That is true, because if you have people coming into your office, and that can cause problems. But I think it outweighs kind of the cons of it. All right, so the website is the hub. So no matter what you do with marketing, you want to make sure that website is pristine. So it's kind of I like to relate it to, if you're building a deck and somebody says they want to put on new, nice, TimberTech PVC boards, and you go underneath it and it's all rotted. Like, you're not going to throw new boards on that. You're going to fix the foundation. You're going to put some steel framing on it, all that fun stuff before you put all the boards on top of it, because otherwise it'll just fall over. Same thing with a website. No matter what you do, they're going to find it. So if you don't have a good website, they're going to go and look at it. They're going to go see what your website looks like. So having that in the right order before you do other things is crucial, because otherwise it'll just basically, come all crashing down. Nobody's going to care as much. And look at your competition, that kind of thing too. Anyone feel confident in their website or not confident? Anybody? Thanks, Joe. Anybody not, anybody see problems with their website? Anybody have any? Yeah.
Man, I just redid my
Oh, okay.
I went from the micro site to a full website, and I did the LDX, and one of the guys there said basically plug your website in the chat GPT and it spit out 3 days of crap.
So yeah, we're all remote.
Yeah.
Going back and forth with our marketing company now.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, you're probably going to get something from ChatGPT regardless. Yeah. I mean, it's not always, yeah. I mean, you got to take it with, it depends on what they're saying, I guess, but take it with a grain of salt sometimes. But, yeah, I mean, like I said in the beginning, there's just a million little things, I guess, and some things that it's also, yeah, I'll just say take it with a grain of salt sometimes. If you have any questions, I can, yeah, I'll ask. Yeah, I'll need to know the specifics a little bit more. So, this is the checklist for the website. So making sure it's mobile friendly, making sure you got the name, address, and phone number in the footer. The service pages, I'm gonna talk about that. Phone number, you always, like Chris was saying. Okay, oh shoot, I'm behind. All right, so service pages, I'll talk about that here in a second. Having enough content on there that targets the keywords. City pages, we'll talk about that. HTML structure, URL structure, custom images, about us page. So all these things we're going to be talking about here in a sec. All right, so go through this quick. Have your website focused on what people are searching. So like just what we were talking about earlier, we can tell what people are searching on Google. So if you have a page for pool decks and your competitor doesn't, that's the monthly volume on Google each time it's searched in the US. So if you know pool decks is being searched in your area and you do pool decks and your competitor doesn't have it, make sure you have that page because it's going to be easier to sell. You're going to be able to capture that lead a lot easier if you have the page and your competition doesn't. So yeah, this is a good list to take a picture of if you're curious about your website, but think about the different things you do. And if it's on there, it's being searched in your area, create a page for it. It'll help you rank for it. All right, just a about us page. This is a very looked at page. I get after a lot of people about the about us page. Like have pictures of your team and, nice friendly looking pictures because people are going to want to see who's behind it. It's a very, very searched or, visited page. So get the about us page, talk about, the company and that kind of thing. All right, the reviews. This is the number one thing that everybody has a problem with, except for Joe Becker, because he just can't stop getting them. But no, it's always an issue. And basically, who has a problem with reviews? Anybody? Oh my gosh.
I mean, we get them, but it's hard.
It's only 3 people have problems with them? I was about to say. Oh, so
We have a problem with fake reviews near us.
on yours or?
No, not mine.
Yeah.
No, but there's like 4 contractors around us that it is like so obvious that they're fake. They're like, there's one guy, he's got, I think we look at him, like, he's got like 8 locations in the state. Like, he's got his real one, and then whether he's doing, they've been around for a while, so I don't know. Yeah, to go through like all the verifications, probably not.
Yeah.
But like, he's been around for like, I don't know, 8 or 9 years or whatever. And he's got like over 100 reviews in each location. He's got like 3,000 total reviews, and you read them and you're like,
Yeah, third deck builder, 3,000 reviews. That's a lot of decks. That might be a record in the US.
it's because it's like, he ranks like those reviews and stuff
Yeah, that's got to be fake.
all the time. So it's,
Yeah. I mean, people do it. I'm not saying, he might have to get some friends and family to leave you some, maybe just to be competitive, but
wouldn't even.
yeah, I mean, you don't, well, here's the thing. You don't need to match him either. So like, you just don't want to be way less. If you have 10 and he has 1,000, 3, that's ridiculous. But, if you have, 50, 60 and everyone else is in the hundreds and you have great reviews and you're getting them more consistent, you'll still be fine. You're still going to get a chance at it. You still have a better website and nicer images and all this stuff.
He's the one worth that.
Yeah, and then you got the sales pro. You know, there's other ways to do it, but you got to get reviews. And this is the plan that I like to always tell everyone to use. Kind of set the stage. So you want to have a plan. You know, everybody has this issue, so you want to instill in your team culture and get everybody on the same page. You can do competitions, things like that. But in the very beginning of the sales process, always kind of set the stage and say, hey, if we do a great job, would you be willing to leave a 5-star review? They're going to say yes. You can add on, if we get a 5-star review, our, crews get free lunch. Like nobody wants to help you guys and give you a review. Like nobody cares about the owners. They want to help the guys that were sweating on the job. So if you make it about them, that'll get them, you're kind of pulling the heartstrings there. And then at the end, you say, hey, if we did a great job, you said you leave a 5-star review, our crews get free lunch, and we're doing a competition. Would you be willing to do it? They say yes. The key is getting it right there. You have to be a little bit forceful, not like, a-hole about it, but just try to get over to them and get that review, whether it's a QR code to get the review or a Zappy card where you touch their phone and it brings up the review screen. All of those will help. Gift cards are also a really good idea. If you can pull out a gift card and say, hey, if you leave it right now, I'll give you a $50 Amazon gift card. People are going to figure out a way to make it work. Everyone here can probably agree. The littlest thing that comes up, they just don't care. They couldn't find their password. And they're like, oh, whatever. I already got my deck. I don't care. Yeah, I'm sure everyone's seen that. But if they get $50, maybe they're going to ask their spouse for a login and, make it happen from there. And, $50 Amazon, who doesn't want that, I guess. But yeah, the biggest thing, ones that do really well, training the team about it, making internal incentives is a great idea. Giving, if you hit 100 reviews this year, then you get to go on a trip or you take them wherever. Like all these things will get your team more motivated. And I just promise you, if you dominate on reviews, you're going to do so much better and make so much more money. It's just a guarantee. There's just no way it's not going to be in your benefit if you can really kill the reviews, especially because it's Dex. And if you're not cheating, like you're saying, most people just don't get that many because you guys, work on a project for a whole month. It just takes a while. So that's why you got to have that system in place to get every single one, because you're not an HVAC company where you just get a million at bats and it's like, oh, whatever. If we hit 20%, we still get a million reviews. Decks are just much longer life cycle. All right.
On that review thing real quick,
Sure.
Just Google, right? You're just pushing contractors on. Is there any other site that of a review actually would help you?
So that's the problem with Dex is it is a good idea to go on Facebook, but it's kind of at a pace when you're already doing well on Google. Google is like easily the best one. It is good to have them on Facebook, but if you got hundreds already, or, if you're just dialed in, then yeah, you want to start diversifying, but if not, pour them all to Google. Yeah.
So I've seen some people have on their Google, their Facebook reviews still show up on Google. Is that an easy process?
Facebook reviews show on Google?
Yeah. So it'll say this many home advisor reviews, this many Facebook reviews, and the rating.
It should be on Google, maybe Bing, Apple. Yeah. Google has got their own, but I think it might be Bing or maybe it's Apple Maps. There's other ones that I think even ChatGPT might pull them in, I think.
AI is pulling them.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, Google's definitely, the one I want to look at. Yeah, I haven't seen, I remember Yelp. I know Yelp reviews are on Bing. Facebook, I'm wondering, but, all right. So this is another thing that I talk about all the time. And, we talk to a lot of people that want leads. I get it, but it's not going to solve all your problems. More leads. If the influx of leads is coming in and you're not able to have, the production team or the operations or your sales cycle to come in and handle these leads, you're just throwing away money. And that even worse, you could be getting these jobs and then you just screwed up and then you messed up your Google reviews, which just puts you in a awful place if you're sitting at the bottom of Google with a 3-star rating. So all these things, they're all strategies, but the reason we're all here and, learning all these things, and I'm sitting back and trying to absorb as much as I can, even though I'm not a deck builder, but make sure you have everything in place to actually handle the leads before you go out and get them. Make sure you're confident in your team. Everyone here, I'm sure, is a great deck builder, but make sure the people that you're hiring or whatever are doing the right things. Make sure that whole process is kind of dialed in before you start doing it, or else you'll just put yourself in a hole and you're not going to be able to get out of it, or it's going to be very hard to get out of it unless you cheat like your guy, then you can get out of it. But so yeah, making sure all those things, everything that I've learned from Legacy and stuff I try to absorb is all great stuff, and that's what I would recommend doing before you start pouring anything into marketing and all these other strategies. So
You mentioned ChatGPT, and I was podcast tape or something they were talking about how now they're saying that people are just going to ChatGPT, who's the best deck builder in my area. What's going on with that?
yeah, it's a good question, and that's something I forgot to mention in one of the earlier slides. So AI is growing, but Neil Patel, I don't know, maybe somebody in here has heard of him, but he's like one of the biggest digital marketers, and he does all these studies. I follow his stuff closely. So right now, even though ChatGPT is growing and all these other ones are growing, he basically did a study that said even people that have ChatGPT and like the paid accounts, 85% of those people still use Google for finding services like a deck builder, construction services. So it's not being used to find, and if you look at ChatGPT, there's all kinds of bugs and stuff on there. So right now, it's just completely dominated by Google still. However, it's something you should be accounting for. So it's
when they roll Gemini out and replace,
Yeah.
like that's gonna rock this, isn't it?
Well, I mean, in Google, I wouldn't worry about because they're still going to have the Google listings and all that stuff. It would be more what the AI decides to use. And right now, you see Google reviews in ChatGPT, but I think they do other types of reviews. But yeah, I mean, you want to have your website dialed in for that. I think that's what I was talking about. That checklist, enough content. FAQs are huge. So answering the questions you typically hear people are searching, there's tools for that too. You can literally see what people type in. So having that on your website, and it's a whole nother webinar, a whole nother presentation on the AI stuff, but you do want to have that focus. But for right now, it's still for the commercial side and commercial searches. It's still Google.
Just you mentioned it, and since it's more on the topic, have you done anything with like PriceGuide.ai integrating into sites?
It's funny. So you're a Marcus Sheridan fan? I am too. Yep. So that is a very interesting thing, and we actually just put one of those on a website, the Price Guide. So he's if anyone does anybody not know Marcus Sheridan, They Ask You Answer, his book. Sorry, I'm out of time. We're sorry. Yeah. Okay. We'll have to maybe talk after this, but basically the price guide. People want to know your pricing, so and getting a estimate for for a deck. This is something I talked to I think Jason about. If you have a estimating software to get a price of a deck, that's what Marcus Sheridan did for pools. So right now, PriceGuide.ai did that. They create so you can get all the features and get an estimate for the price of the deck. He proved that that is a huge way to sell more decks if you can get the costing dialed in. He said we just did it on one. It's still kind of developing, but I would love if TimberTech would build a pricing guide like that. That'd be nice.
Don't let them do it.
For Nadra.
No offense, manufacturers
Yeah.
always.
Yeah. So yeah, PriceGuide.ai. Yeah. .ai. Yeah. So that's it. Sorry, I went a little bit over.
Nah, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, switch over.
Let's hear it for Alex, guys. Too.